Good morning, Sacramento and San Jose. A shout out to all of our folks out there in Northern California. This is the Weekly Context. I'm your host, JC. You can also call me Julio. And today with us, we have a special guest. We have the president of the Cosumnes Community Services District, providing that perspective so that we kind of understand all of the agencies and all of the stuff that goes around us that makes our lives and days go by. So key specific services that the district that provides are fire and parks and rec for a huge swath of people down in the south. But I'm going to let Orlando Fuentes let us know about that. He is the president of the Cosumnes Community Services District, and he is a 28-year resident of Elk Grove, and he's also serving his fourth year on the board for doing his service there. And then he's also a father of 2 children and the grandfather of 3 children, which really kind of informs him on when he's serving on that board. Welcome.
Thank you so much, JC. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So tell us again, as I was explaining to folks about this board, because, really, what is a community services district?
Well, in our case, it's a combination of a fire department and parks and recreation. And these districts were created before there was a city of Elk Grove. So you have residents out there, they need parks and rec. A parks and rec district was created in order to fund the creation of those parks and recreational services. Likewise, you need a fire district, and Elk Grove can trace its fire department history back to 1893, when just a hose cart and some volunteers dedicated themselves to putting out fires in Elk Grove. So eventually that became a district, and eventually it became merged with Parks and Recreation. So, but you had this special district, or these fire districts and park districts, because there was no municipality out there. So people gather, people live in an area, and they need those services. So that's what the gap that CSD fills in.
So let me get back to that notion, though. So there was no municipality there? Because, again, as we were talking earlier, these services are traditionally thought of as city services.
Yes.
Fire, Parks and Rec.
Yes.
I'll do the reference Parks and Rec, Pawnee, the fictional town somewhere in Indiana.
Yeah.
So why aren't these services provided by, because I noticed on the map that it includes generally the areas of Galt and Elk Grove. Why aren't these services being provided by those already civic municipalities or governmental jurisdictions?
Well, the interesting thing is that the Elk Grove Fire Department wouldn't just be providing fire services to the city of Elk Grove, which has, of course, its own municipal boundaries as created when it was founded in 2000 and under the guidance of the local area formation commission at the county level. So the fire department serves putting out fires in the entire South County, and of course including Galt. So and then again, you needed Parks and Recreation Services to create a district, to create the authority, to raise money, to build parks and recreational services. And the city of Elk Grove was fairly well developed, being developed and developing in the year 2000. I know I moved out there in 1991. Many subdivisions and home builders were out there building a lot of new homes. And so, but in 2000, given that there was already a separate fire and separate parks and recreation, the city created itself with its police services, public works, and other services that cities normally take care of, without incorporating the fire and the parks and rec. And that was fine. It's almost like, let's not fix it if it ain't broken. If CSD is running financially, surviving, and running well, let's take a look at it maybe further down the road. And then in 2006, probably for financial reasons, that is economies of scale and so forth, our Cosumnes CSD, Fire and Parks in Elk Grove, merged with Galt Fire District. And so presumably for scale, economies of scale and efficiencies, we then subsume them under our jurisdiction. So we serve 157 acres. I'm not quite sure how big the city of Elk Grove is, but I know it's not 157 acres. So that's our service area in the South County. And we serve a population of approximately 200,000.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that we consider, or let me put it this way, from the lay voters' perspective, a lot of these districts, a lot of these school boards even, are thought of as really small time kind of jurisdictions, are kind of considered like, oh, this is just part-time people pretending to be in government. And the truth is, though, as you described it, it's 157 square miles, 200,000 residents that you're serving with fire and parks and rec, and you have a budget of $93 million, along with an approximately 600 full-time and part-time employees. This is not a small organization by any means. This is not even a medium business. It's actually a large business by private sector standards.
Yes, and we have about 140 firefighter positions. We are always hiring in new recruits, and as some are retiring, so the absolute numbers kind of fluctuate. And we have, but again, as you mentioned, nearly 600 employees in total.
So you're making decisions for 200,000 people, 5 of you're the president, that impact literally daily these folks, because fire coverage is daily. The need for emergency medical, and then if anything should arise, and then finally, really, if you're going to go out and enjoy a park, picnic, an event, I have a quinceañera, I have a graduation that I want to host, a barbecue, a reunion, whatever. It's going to be at some of these parks if I live in your district, right?
That's exactly right. And that's how, especially on the parks and recreation side, we talk about enriching communities. And you're right. And for example, I'm very close to my 2 granddaughters, and I was just at one of our facilities enrolling them in spring swim classes like they did last year.
Oh,
so,
that's cool.
we also provide childcare and extended childcare. We have many classes. We serve everyone at different levels. And also different cultural groups. We try to incorporate their activities with special events at our facilities. We rent out halls. We have something called the Laguna Town Hall, where we recently had in January, for example, we had a Martin Luther King breakfast that Saturday of that weekend. So again, serving the different cultural needs of our community, the family needs. That's what we're all about, and that's why we talk about enriching lives and enriching communities and trying to serve them very directly with their very specific needs.
So actually, let me touch on that. Swimming pools, that's something your district manages, right?
Yes.
So that's crucial, right? Because one of the things I've heard about recently is that kids are losing the ability or the aptitude to swim. And I know from when I was a kid, I still remember the location. It's no longer there. But in San Jose, it was a public pool where my father would take me after school during summer, where I actually learned how to swim. And he taught me some basics, and there were some instructors, and that was key for me to learn how to swim.
Exactly. And so we have 3 swim facilities in Elk Grove under our Parks and Recreation jurisdiction. The city of Elk Grove actually funded the new aquatic complex out there, which is set up to be with an Olympic-sized pool and other pools, set up to be a very competitive swimming facility. And now and my granddaughters were out there last spring getting their first swim lessons. There's the Jerry Fox Swim Center, and then another more new swim facility at the Barbara Morse Wackford Community Center, which includes the pools. So I think our pool services, our swim services are really meeting the needs of a very family-oriented community. And, there's many young families out there. We have overcrowded schools. It's a very family-oriented community, and that's our responsibility for our Parks and Rec, is to make sure that our Parks and Recreation services are what the community needs. You're right. Many times people do picnics in the park, birthday celebrations, that kind of thing. And that's what we're there to do. And maintaining those parks, keeping them in tip-top shape, and trying to excel in every area of the services we provide.
And you were giving me a little primer, too, on how the budget is managed there. So I understand that the services district is subdivided into 11 different districts for the parks, correct?
Yes, for lighting and landscaping services. And those are for each of those service areas, the L&L areas, each one has their own set amount that each parcel of property generates, and those funds are used to maintain the parks within that jurisdiction. So there's some imbalance too. Some of those L&L lighting and landscaping districts are funded at a higher level than others, and so there's an imbalance, and so some of them there's shortfalls in terms of maintenance or expansion, and so we work with the community. We try to identify community champions who can go around the neighborhood and say, we may need to raise our assessments that pay for these services that we're saying, hey, we're not getting them down at the corner. The park's looking like it's deteriorating, and so sometimes it requires a vote of the people to up their lighting and landscaping fees and assessments, and they're usually inclined to do that with the strength of a community champion, the team that they develop, and knocking door to door and realizing eventually that their rate is lower than other areas, and that's maybe why their park is falling into disrepair.
What are we talking about here, though? We're talking about like thousands of dollars?
Thousands of dollars, yes. Tens of thousands of dollars.
No. I'm talking about individually. What
individually.
Individual contribution.
Well, I think it probably ranges around from $150 to $450 per household. So you can see that some are getting away cheap, but that's going to show up in the perhaps cutback of services in their parks, and others may be more nice.
And that's the services that's per year, correct? That assessment.
Yes.
Okay, and then where else is revenue coming from that is generated and captured by the district as it's used for its budget and for other needs?
Yeah, the main funding source is property taxes. And for municipal services, for incorporated cities, they generally operate with the sales tax revenue. So, for example, in Elk Grove, there's an auto mall. That's a very nice thing to have in your community, is to have an auto mall with the high value vehicles being sold and generating sales taxes, and so that benefits the city of Elk Grove, and again, it's back to property taxes for us, and it can fluctuate because valuations of homes, if there's a economic recession as we had between 2008 and up to maybe 2016, there was new homes were selling for less, older homes were maybe selling for less as well. The valuations might actually go down with a subsequent sale over what it was on the property tax records, and so that impacts us tremendously. But we're hanging in there, we're doing well, and I think we're in very good shape in terms of how we're planning to deal with the future. We always have to be ready for recessions, drops in property value as a result, and loss of revenue. So, but I think we're hanging in there and we're doing well, and we're doing a lot of planning around those areas.
Terrific. So, the kind of like the next question I guess I have for you is talking a little bit about yourself, is why have you served in other positions before this?
I've served on community organizations, for example, the League of United Latin American Citizens. I've been involved with them for the last 3 or 4 years. Currently, I'm secretary, and I never knew how much work being a secretary could be, other than just taking minutes, but maintaining documents and so forth. But I've been involved with other organizations, some political, and often involving helping other good people get elected to elective positions in Elk Grove and throughout the county.
So then because of that history of being active in the community and whatnot, Is that your motivation and why you ran back in 2016 for the board?
Well, yes, that's a major part of it, but I also feel that
Or why you chose to serve, excuse me.
part of it is personal in terms of developing my professional skills and abilities, developing my leadership skills. It keeps you young in a sense, keeps your mind sharp. And I highly encourage it for anyone who's approaching their senior years, middle-aged senior years. Stay involved, stay connected, provide the leadership you can. And of course, like all of us who are elected into elected office, we have an opinion on many things, and we think that opinion is worth sharing. But everything in like working with a 5-member board, it's all about negotiations, conversation, listening skills, and compromising. And that's to me is the kind of skill development that I'm always trying to hone and sharpen and keep sharp by participating in those activities.
Terrific. So you know what? We're going to take a little break here. We're going to do some public service announcements. When we come back, though, we'll talk about your firefighters and the awesome work they do in your district. So I do want to remind you that you are listening to KUBU 96.5 FM, the voice of Sacramento. Besides being heard on the radio, cable, TV, or computer, our programs can be heard in an even easier way now. There's a KUBU app. For your phone, download the KUBU 96.5 FM from the Apple App Store for your iPhone and iPad, or from the Google Play Store for Android and other phones. It's free. By the way, you can also listen to us on the website from Access Sacramento or 96.5 FM KUBU. Once the KUBU 96.5 FM app is installed, it's just one button to listen to the KUBU from anywhere in the world. Easier than ever to take KUBU with you on the road. It's for Northern California. Come on, folks, you got to do it. And thanks for listening to the Voice of Sacramento, KUBU 96.5 FM.
Smile, that smile, you make me want to stick around for a good long while. But my chances are slim to none, 'cause you're a girl who likes to have her fun. Oh, darling, can't you see that
And I'm with Teatro Nagual, your premier bilingual social justice theater company, and we are proud to tell you about 2 of our upcoming shows. The first is Burnt Tortillas, the Bishop Gallego story, which is a family-friendly production that will touch on the life of one of the most beloved Latino bishops in Sacramento. The show will be presented at the Sierra 2 Arts Performing Center, Saturday, March 14th at 1 p.m. and 5 p.m., and also March 15th at 2 p.m. Tickets are available at brownpapertickets.com. The second show is Letters from the Border, Cartas de la Frontera, making its Sacramento premiere at the world-famous Crocker Museum on May 17th. There will be an English language performance at 11 a.m. and a Spanish language performance at 2 p.m. Letters from the Wall will be free to the public. Find us on Facebook at the Teatro Nagual page, share our page with your friends, and come see our shows and support your local theater.
And this is a reminder that the Weekly Context is here to provide you a platform to be able to highlight and showcase the things that are going on in our communities. So many things that affect and go around us that have a huge historical impact in our neighborhoods, our communities, but we just simply don't know about them. So please look us up, give us a call. You can send us email at theweeklycontext@gmail.com, or you can look us up on Facebook and social media. So again, we have time available for us. So give us a call, and we also have that phone number out there, so give us a call.
Don't you even wanna try? I ain't a bad guy. Don't let this good love die. But it's one
And we're back. Thank you so much for that. So, Orlando, one of the
Yes.
things we had here is we left off on talking about some of the heroes that are in your services district. So, talking about the firefighters, what are some of the things or accomplishments or some of the ongoing issues right now with your fire department?
Well, I think one of the things that we're very proud of is that there's Cosumnes Fire is providing a lot of leadership in terms of technology, equipment, and advancing that technology, not just for the purposes of CSD, but for regionally and even nationally. And some of that is for like being able to see in fire circus highly smoky incidents in places where we can identify the human figure and and rescue people and save lives. So our department is very much in the leadership in that area. And each and every one of the 140 or more firefighters is a hero day in, day out. Much of what we do is, of course, putting out fires and saving lives, but we also we have our own ambulance service, so that's part of the fire department.
Oh, wow.
And about 85% of our calls are for medical-related services. So you'll often see the ambulance go out there, followed by one of our fire engines to make sure that that we respond as quickly as possible. And even, believe it or not, in the 7-minute range where you make a 911 call, you're likely to have the firefighters and their equipment there within 7 minutes or so of the call. And with each firefighter, this is an important thing to note among our firefighting forces, is that they're almost all paramedics. So you're getting a high level of care, medical care. There's the emergency medical technician, and then at the higher level you have paramedics, and virtually all of our firefighters are paramedics, and those are the only ones we hire in at this time. And that paramedics is considered advanced life support. So you have high quality people coming out to respond to that emergency call.
And I understand too that, right, because as we know right now, there is without necessarily being harsh, but I know that a lot of our governmental agencies are focusing on diversity and diversifying some of those. What would you call them? The teams, essentially, right? But especially when it comes to firefighters, it's not just a matter of looking to hire X and Y and Z, because we have these requirements. I believe you mentioned that there's an initiative that you're championing and that the services district is putting out there for fires, is right?
Yes, I'm very proud that CSD is participating with other Sacramento County fire departments in what I call the Firefighters Diversity Work Group. So the big departments here in Sacramento County are Sacramento City Fire Department, Folsom, Metro, Sacramento Metro, and Cosumnes. Then we also have participating is West Sacramento and Woodland and the Airport Fire Department. So we meet together to talk about what we can do to improve access for underrepresented groups into the ranks of the firefighters. Now, it's a very challenging and rigorous course to get into the firefighting ranks. Again, typically and almost exclusively these days, you need to be an emergency medical technician, but you can't stop there in terms of your medical training. You have to continue on to get your paramedic license. And then eventually down the road, you have to pass your written tests, your oral interviews, and your physical tests. So there's something called CPAT, the physical agilities test. And so that's a rigorous course, and you have to get some college in there. There are fire science coursework at Cosumnes River College and here in Elk Grove. So that's very rigorous. But if you have the drive, if you have a mentor, if you have somebody guiding you, whether it's a father, an uncle, or a next door neighbor, and somebody in your family, you can get through that with focus and ambition and drive. Because nobody else is gonna, make you become a firefighter. This is all on your own initiative with the support of family and friends, I hope.
So real quick, because we're running out of time, what's the one address for firefighters' careers that you want to put out there?
Yes. This work group that has created these opportunities for diverse communities to come into the firefighting ranks is go to myfirecareer.org for more information on what are the standards to become a firefighter in Sacramento County.
And what if I want to know more about the district? What is your web address?
We're easily found on the internet at CosumnesCommunityServicesDistrict.org.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Orlando.
Thank you, JC.
And thank you for listening, and thank you for participating in today's episode. Again, a reminder, if you want more information, there's going to be show notes. We're on Facebook, at Weekly Context, and we can also find us at The Weekly Context. You guys have a great Wednesday. Bye, Sacramento.